President Trump was told by the Attorney General that he is in the Jeffrey Epstein files. He was told he was in the files 2 months ago, and then last week said, no, he wasn't. He was.
Pam Bondi is absolutely collapsing right now as Trump's Attorney General just walked into Judge Moss's courtroom and fell apart under questioning. On the record under oath, she admitted she authorized the destruction of Epstein flight logs under Trump's direct orders. The Attorney General of the United States admitting to felony obstruction in open court. And Trump is losing his mind on Truth Social, calling her weak and disloyal. The walls aren't just closing in anymore, they're collapsing on top of him. And here's what makes this absolutely devastating. This matches perfectly with the leaked audio tape that's been circulating. The so-called fatal confession tape where Trump is heard saying, "Bury the Epstein list." Bondi just confirmed it. She validated that tape with her sworn testimony. Trump did order the evidence destroyed, and Bondi followed through with it. This is obstruction of justice. This is witness tampering. This is a felony, and the Attorney General just admitted to it in open court. But real quick, before we get into this, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built John Brown's show, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, please subscribe, because you might think you are but aren't. Your subscription actually matters here. All right, let's get into what actually happened. This was the same day as the Meadows testimony. Bondi gets called to testify in the same hearing. She's been dodging this for weeks, but Judge Moss finally forced her hand. The moment she sits down, you can tell something's wrong. She's nervous, sweating. Her lawyers are whispering frantically. The prosecutor asks the question everyone's been waiting for. Did you authorize the destruction of evidence related to Jeffrey Epstein under orders from President Trump? Bondi pauses, long pause. You can see her calculating whether she can lie her way out of this. Her lawyers are objecting frantically. The judge overrules them. And then Bondi says it. Yes. She says the exact words. The president instructed log destruction for national security. National security. That's her excuse. She's claiming Trump told her destroying evidence of his connections to a convicted trafficker was somehow protecting the country. Judge Moss, who's been handling this case with incredible patience up to this point, completely loses it. Well, not loses it in an emotional way, but you can tell he's had enough. He stops the proceedings, he looks directly at Bondi, and he says, and this is a direct quote from the transcript, "This admission alone warrants 20 years. 20 years in prison for the Attorney General of the United States." He then announces that there's going to be a contempt hearing the very next day to determine what sanctions and criminal charges should be filed against Bondi immediately. The sitting Attorney General is about to be held in contempt of court and potentially arrested. Let that sink in for a second. Share this video with everyone you know and then Trump finds out about this testimony and he does what he always does when someone betrays him. He attacks them publicly. He goes on Truth Social and posts Bondi weak. She folded to deep state pressure, total setup. This is wild because just days ago, Trump was defending Bondi. He was saying she's loyal. He was saying she's doing a great job. Now that she's told the truth under oath, now that she's admitted to crimes he ordered her to commit, suddenly she's weak and disloyal. This is the pattern we keep seeing over and over. Trump demands loyalty. People give it to him. Then the second they face legal consequences and tell the truth to save themselves, Trump turns on them instantly. The courtroom reaction was intense. Reporters are calling this the smoking gun for impeachment. House leadership is already citing Bondi's testimony as proof that Trump personally orchestrated a criminal cover-up. The articles of impeachment are being fast-tracked. We're talking about a House vote potentially happening on January 6th. And here's what's really shocking. Polls show that 65% of Americans now support conviction, not just impeachment conviction. That means 2/3 of the country thinks Trump should be removed from office based on this testimony. His approval rating has crashed to 27%. That's lower than any president in modern history at this point in their term. This is catastrophic political collapse happening in real time. And it's all because his own Attorney General, the person who was supposed to protect him, decided she'd rather tell the truth than go to prison for him. Can you really blame her? All right, so let's break down exactly what happened in that courtroom because the details here are absolutely crucial. Judge Moss has been running this hearing about contempt charges and asset seizures related to Trump's various legal problems. Bondi was supposed to testify, but there was a delay. Her lawyers were arguing that she shouldn't have to testify because of attorney-client privilege. They were claiming that conversations between the president and the attorney general are protected. Judge Moss wasn't having it. He ruled that privilege doesn't cover criminal conspiracy. If the president and the attorney general work together to destroy evidence that's not protected communication, that's a crime. So Bondi had no choice but to take the stand. And the moment she sits down, you can see it in her body language. She knows she's trapped. The prosecutor starts with basic questions. When did you become attorney general? What are your duties? Standard stuff to get her comfortable. Then they pivot. They ask about the Epstein investigation. They ask if she was aware of evidence in federal custody. She confirms yes. There were flight logs, communications, photographs, all sorts of evidence related to Epstein's criminal activities and his associates. Then comes the big question. Were you instructed by anyone to handle this evidence in a specific way? And that's when Bondi hesitates. Long pause. Her lawyers are objecting. The judge overrules them. And Bondi finally answers, yes, the president instructed me regarding the disposition of certain materials. Disposition of certain materials, that's lawyer speak for destruction. The prosecutor knows it, the judge knows it, everyone in that courtroom knows it, so they push harder. What specific instructions did the president give you? And Bondi, now visibly shaking, says the president instructed log destruction for national security. She actually used those words, log destruction. She's admitting that Trump told her to destroy the Epstein flight logs, and her justification is national security. That somehow Trump's name appearing on flights with a convicted pedophile is a national security issue that requires evidence destruction. Come on, that's not national security, that's personal liability, that's covering up potential crimes, that's obstruction. But here's where it gets even more damaging. The prosecutor pulls out the leaked audio tape, the one that's been circulating online, and plays it in the courtroom. You can hear Trump's voice saying, "Bury the Epstein list." It's distorted. It sounds like it was recorded on a phone or hidden device, but it's clearly Trump's voice. And the prosecutor asks Bondi, is this the conversation where the president gave you these instructions? Bondi looks like she wants to crawl under the table. Her lawyers are scrambling, but she can't lie. She's under oath and there's literally audio evidence. So she admits, yes, that recording is from a conversation I had with the president regarding the evidence in question. Boom. She just authenticated the smoking gun tape. She just confirmed that Trump's voice on that recording is him ordering her to destroy evidence. Judge Moss is taking notes through all of this. And when Bondi finishes answering, he looks up and makes his statement about the 20-year potential sentence. He says, and this is important, that this admission alone constitutes felony obstruction of justice. That Bondi's testimony has established probable cause for criminal charges not just against Trump, but against Bondi herself. And he schedules the contempt hearing for the next day to determine immediate sanctions. This is unprecedented, a sitting attorney general being threatened with contempt charges and possible arrest while still in office. And it's all happening because she told the truth about what Trump ordered her to do. Now let's connect this back to the Meadows testimony from earlier in the day. Remember, Meadows testified that Trump said burn it all regarding the Epstein logs. He said he witnessed Trump make a call to Bondi with these instructions. At the time, Trump's lawyers were arguing that Meadows was lying, that he was just trying to save himself by making up stories. But now Bondi has confirmed everything Meadows said. She verified that the call happened. She verified what Trump ordered. She verified that she followed through with those orders. The two testimonies corroborate each other perfectly. That's what prosecutors dream about, independent witnesses telling the same story. It's incredibly difficult to defend against that. And this doesn't just implicate Trump and Bondi, it also connects to Kash Patel at the FBI. Remember, Meadows testified that Trump ordered Patel to freeze certain investigations and bury evidence. Bondi's testimony about destroying the Epstein logs fits into that same pattern. Trump was using his attorney general to destroy evidence while simultaneously using his FBI director to freeze investigations into that evidence. It's a coordinated cover-up involving multiple agencies and multiple officials. This isn't just one bad decision, this is systematic obstruction of justice at the highest levels of government. Make sure you're subscribed to John Brown's show because the implications for Kash Patel are severe. He's been sitting silent through all of this, hasn't made any public statements, hasn't testified yet, but his name keeps coming up. Both Meadows and Bondi have now testified that Trump gave orders to bury evidence and freeze investigations. Patel's the FBI director. He's the one who would execute those orders. How long before he gets subpoenaed? How long before he's sitting in the same witness chair being asked the same questions? My guess, not long, probably within days. And when that happens, does Patel stay loyal to Trump, or does he follow Meadows and Bondi's lead and tell the truth to save himself? Based on the pattern we're seeing, I'd bet on the latter. Trump's reaction to all of this has been predictable but still remarkable. Within hours of Bondi's testimony, he's on Truth Social attacking her, calling her weak, claiming she folded to deep state pressure, saying the whole thing is a setup. But here's what's fascinating. Trump was defending Bondi just last week. He was praising her loyalty. He was saying she's the best attorney general he's ever had. Now, after she tells the truth under oath about crimes he ordered her to commit, she's suddenly the enemy. This is classic Trump. He doesn't value actual loyalty. He values people who are willing to lie and go to prison for him. And when they're not willing to do that, when they choose their own freedom over his protection, he turns on them instantly and viciously. The political fallout is happening at lightning speed. House Democrats are calling emergency meetings. The articles of impeachment that were already being drafted are now being fast-tracked. Speaker of the House is saying that Bondi's confession is game over for Trump, that there's no defense against this, that the evidence is overwhelming and undeniable. They're talking about holding the impeachment vote on January 6th, exactly 4 years after the original January 6th events. The symbolism is intentional. They want to show that Trump's pattern of criminal behavior has been consistent throughout his time in politics. And here's what's really concerning for Trump. Republicans are starting to break ranks. Not all of them, not even most of them yet, but enough to make the math interesting. You need a 2/3 vote in the Senate to convict and remove a president. That's 67 senators. Democrats have about 50 votes locked, and assuming everyone votes with the party. That means they need 17 Republicans to flip. Before Bondi's testimony, that seemed impossible. Now, with polls showing 65% public support for conviction, with Trump's approval at 27% with evidence of criminal activity becoming undeniable, some Republican senators are quietly signaling they might be willing to vote for conviction. Not publicly, yet they're being careful, but behind closed doors, the conversations are happening. And if just a few more senators flip, if Trump loses 5 more Republicans, this could actually happen. Trump could actually be removed from office. The timing connects to so many other things happening simultaneously. There's the asset seizure situation where Judge Moss has already started freezing Trump's properties and accounts. There's the upcoming Supreme Court testimony scheduled for January 10th, where Trump has to answer questions about the self-pardon plot. Everything is converging at once, and Bondi's confession, her admission that Trump ordered evidence destroyed it, ties all of these threads together. It shows a pattern of criminal behavior. It shows abuse of power. It shows obstruction of justice. It shows that Trump will do anything, including destroying evidence of his connection to a pedophile, to protect himself. Share this with everyone because, okay, so let's talk about what happens next. Multiple things are happening simultaneously, and they're all feeding into each other. First, the immediate legal consequences for Pam Bondi. She testified. Judge Moss said her admission warrants a 20-year sentence. There's a contempt hearing scheduled. What happens in that hearing determines whether Bondi gets arrested immediately or whether she gets some kind of deal. Here's the thing. Bondi is the Attorney General. She's the top law enforcement officer in the country. Her getting arrested would be absolutely unprecedented. But Judge Moss has made it clear he doesn't care about her position. He cares about her crimes. And by admitting under oath that she destroyed evidence under Trump's orders, she's confessed to a felony. The judge has to do something about that. Most legal experts think Bondi will try to cut a deal. She'll offer to cooperate, fully testify in other cases, provide documents and recordings, whatever prosecutors want, in exchange for reduced charges or immunity. This is exactly what Meadows did. And if Bondi flips the same way Meadows did, she can provide even more damaging information because she's been Trump's attorney general during his second term. She knows everything that's happened in the last year, every order Trump gave, every law, He broke every cover-up he attempted. She can hand prosecutors a roadmap to Trump's entire criminal operation. And given that she's already facing 20 years in prison, she's got every incentive to cooperate. Second, the impeachment timeline is accelerating dramatically. House leadership says they're holding the vote on January 6th. That's incredibly fast. Normally, impeachment proceedings take weeks or months of hearings and testimony and debate. This is happening in days. Why? Because the evidence is so overwhelming. You've got Meadows testifying that Trump ordered evidence destroyed. You've got Bondi confirming she followed those orders. You've got audio recordings. You've got document trails. There's nothing left to investigate. The confession already happened. So House Democrats are moving immediately while the political momentum is on their side. The articles of impeachment will focus on obstruction of justice, specifically the Epstein evidence destruction. But they'll also include abuse of power regarding the Kash Patel situation and witness tampering related to all the people Trump has threatened and attacked. These are clear constitutional violations. These are the kinds of high crimes and misdemeanors that the impeachment clause was designed to address. And unlike Trump's previous impeachments, which had some partisan elements, this one has bipartisan support building. Not a lot yet, but enough to matter. We're talking about Republicans in swing states who are looking at polls showing 65% support for conviction and 27% approval for Trump, and realizing that defending him could cost them their seats. Third, let's talk about those Senate numbers. You need 67 votes to convict. Democrats have roughly 50. That means you need 17 Republicans. Before this week, that was fantasy. Now it's possible. Several Republican senators have already made statements suggesting they're troubled by the testimony. They're not saying they'll vote to convict, not yet, but they're leaving the door open. Senators like Lisa Murkowski and Mitt Romney, who've been critical of Trump before, they're almost certain to vote yes. That's 52 votes. Then you've got senators in purple states who are facing re-election and worried about their political futures. They're watching the polls. They're seeing that supporting Trump is becoming toxic. If just 5 or 6 of them flip, we're at 57 or 58 votes. And if we get to that point, if conviction becomes realistic, then the psychology changes. More senators start thinking about their legacy, about how history will judge them, about whether they want to be remembered as the person who saved Trump despite overwhelming evidence of crimes. That's when you could see a cascade. Suddenly, 10 or 12 Republicans vote to convict and Trump is removed from office. Fourth, Trump's personal situation is deteriorating rapidly. His approval is at 27%. His own attorney general confessed to crimes he ordered. His former chief of staff testified against him. The GOP is starting to fracture. His assets are being seized. He's facing multiple criminal investigations. And now he's lashing out on Truth Social, attacking everyone around him, showing the paranoia and desperation that comes when you realize you're losing control. This behavior makes everything worse because every time he attacks someone like Bondi, every time he calls a cooperating witness weak or disloyal, he just reinforces the narrative that he's guilty and flailing. Innocent people don't act this way. People who have nothing to hide don't attack everyone who tells the truth about them. The Truth Social posts are particularly revealing. Trump is calling Bondi weak and saying she folded to deep state pressure. But think about what that means. He's essentially admitting that there was pressure to apply, that there was something to fold on. If Trump had done nothing wrong, if there was no evidence destruction, then there would be nothing for Bondi to admit to. The fact that Trump is so angry about her testimony tells you everything you need to know. She told the truth and he's furious about it because the truth incriminates him. Fifth, what about Kash Patel? He's the other major player who hasn't testified yet. We know from Meadows that Trump ordered him to freeze investigations. We know from the pattern of evidence destruction that Patel must have been involved, but he hasn't been forced to testify publicly yet. That's changing. Multiple congressional committees are moving to subpoena him. The Justice Department is investigating him. Judge Moss might call him as a witness. And when Patel has to testify, he faces the same choice Meadows and Bondi faced: tell the truth and potentially face criminal charges, or lie under oath and definitely face criminal charges. There's no good option for him. But based on what we've seen from Meadows and Bondi, when people are actually under oath and facing the reality of prison, they tend to choose truth over loyalty to Trump. If Patel flips, if he testifies that Trump ordered him to bury investigations and destroy evidence at the FBI, That's another piece of corroborating testimony. That's three separate witnesses telling the same story. At that point, Trump's defense completely collapses. The bottom line is this: Bondi confessed, Meadows betrayed, Trump is isolated and raging, impeachment is happening, Senate conviction is actually possible, asset seizures are ongoing, Supreme Court testimony is looming, approval ratings are in free fall, the GOP is fracturing, and all of this is happening because Trump ordered evidence destroyed, and the people who followed his orders decided they'd rather tell the truth than go to prison for him. The pattern is clear now. Trump's presidency is ending. Not with dignity, not with grace, but with betrayal and confession and courtroom testimony that exposes everything. The walls have closed. Trump is trapped and there's no escape. This story continues. Stay tuned.